Hello, and welcome to Ideas with Diana on this August 2nd, 2022. Recently tonight, I watched a show on Amazon Prime Movies called Mr. Jones, and it was about the event that happened in Ukraine in 1933. The reason why I thought this is interesting to comment about is part of the title is based upon this because the, the, uh, the, the the journalist Mr. Jones met another person by the name of Eric Blair, who would later become known as George Orwell. And the question was basically, do pigs go to man or do man go to pigs back then? Because people were wondering about, well, what other ways to modernity are there other than basically the exploitation that existed back then? And again, it was still the same thing. Basically, grain is gold. Just as today, the first food shipments left the Ukraine, and hopefully will reach their destination to feed people, and as well as fertilizer and sunflower oil. But it's interesting when you think about this. Um, this thing started. Well, I mean, I should say started, but this thing that began February 24th. However, it really started in 2014, and in 2014, basically, to most of the world, it wasn't on their radar. Many people really didn't care about. The only time they cared about was when President Trump went to Ukraine and someone tried to wage impeachment because he went to Ukraine talking about something or something happened there. And what happened was that's when it became. But basically, people really didn't understand what was really going on back then. I mean, basically, I had a chance to watch some of the documentaries that are on our RT and also on the foreign press regarding the history of that since 2014, Maiden and some other things, and Dr. Donbass. And when I think about it, it still comes back to Pigs to Man or Man to Pigs, or the movie I just saw, Mr. Jones, um, when he reported about the 1933 starvation that existed in the Ukraine. The thing, what happens though is, I hope some people in the United States will watch Mr. Jones, because what it showed in the winter there was, I mean, even though the Ukraine is a huge country with great fields of grain, and almost like people who are from that area will sort of refer to it as almost a continent of grain. However, in the winter though, if you don't have the food, it's almost like living on the Arctic shelf, except you're not an Eskimo and you can't fish like that. So it in 1933 it showed the people empty villages, and but yet it showed the propaganda pictures of pictures of bountiful grain, and yet people were starving and people were even eating bark, and some people even resorted to other means. I won't say what the other means are, but when you see the movie, it's very real. It's very real as to what happened. Well, when he went back to New York, he wrote back when he wrote the story, and what happened was he was dismissed in the press, and another reporter won a Pulitzer. However, to this day, the Pulitzer has never been revoked as to the story that was written back then to dismiss the true account of what it was like back then. But when I think about what's going on there, winter's coming, and I'm glad to see that basically that wise heads are getting together to work on a way how to get the bread out, the sunflower oil and the fertilizer out, because really, um, even on other news, I see basically it's simply this. Um, in some parts of the Donbass and in the Ukraine, but let's focus on Donbass. People there are being requested to leave the area or provide a special written notice, relieving the local government or who's ever in charge of the area of responsibility, because the local government and those in charge realize that when winter comes, they're not going to be able to provide proper utilities. And I'm sure this is the case in many cases in Ukraine where there's been fighting with missiles and stuff like this, bulldozer type action or traditional warfare. People may think, basically, you know, when they watch Battle of the Bulge, they may think, well, oh, this is glorious, how we fought in the Battle of the Bulge in 1940. But if we don't get, if the world doesn't get its act together regarding this, ending this situation in Ukraine, and even getting the food out, we're going to have a situation worse than the Battle of the Bulge. There's going to be many people starving, a lot of them, more than just inflation. So that's why I'm hoping that this first shipment succeeds and other shipments will. Because and the other thing that's going to have to come out is what are we going to do in the winter? How are we going to provide heat for people who are still stuck there that don't have places to go to get warm, and even don't have enough food? It will be like this movie, Mr. Jones. And just to sort of talk to some think tanks that think, oh, we have this thing all planned out, we know what we're doing, and basically, I'm just getting one demonstration set here, that they know what they're doing. Excuse me. And they think, well, okay, well, we have this doing. We have a simulation. We have all these Fortran programs. Well, in Los Angeles, we still have a massive backup. And just to give an example how bad the backup is, this isn't as serious as a food crisis is going on, but a friend of mine who lives in an apartment, her landlord said that basically he needed to get a new stove because he needed to upgrade this apartment from gas powered stoves to electric ignition stoves for gas. Well, okay, you ordered 3 stoves. You wouldn't think in the United States it's going to be a big issue. Well, so far my friend's been waiting 6 times for the delivery. The 7th is supposed to come on the 9th. Let's hope that the wondrous wonders do deliver. The other times, the product was damaged. The product didn't arrive. The product was stuck in LA. Other things. Now, if we consider this on a world level with the food, people can't wait that long for food as shown in the movie Mr. Jones, where people are actually eating tree bark and other stuff. And that's the power of bread. I mean, many people sometimes think when they mock Eastern cultures or Eastern European cultures or Russian culture there, why do the Polish, Russian, and many Eastern European cultures think of the power of bread? Because basically, the power of bread is very important for survival, especially in the winter. Because in the winter, basically, you can eat it without having to have heat. You can eat it without in a very cold climate. And for many people in a warm culture, power bread is the same thing. You can eat it without having to prepare it. But to some people, they don't quite get it, and they think, well, oh, we have everything planned out now. We have our Android systems. We can plan everything out. We can do central planning, as what was the term used back then, or nowadays we can, or what they call it now, they call highly efficient planning, something like that. My dad had another name when he originally worked on a program to help do worldwide manufacturing. And let me just give you a short demonstration of that. Now, in the screen, I'm sorry, I couldn't make this program any bigger. I'm having a little problem with the emulator but here. But let me just show you how fast this could do to simulate production at an automotive plant. Let's just do it that way. Let's do it like that. And that. Ready? Take a look at your watches. Now this is doing simulation for 5 automotive plants. It's running it through. It's reading that. Now it's writing the production report. Now that's how fast it does it. So when I hear things like basically, well, we got this all planned out. We can end this thing as fast as we started. Well, really, the people are maybe are crossing their fingers that you can, but we really need to. But the most important thing is, I'm glad to see you got the bread up. You're starting to get the bread, the fertilizer, and the sunflower oil. This is needed for the world, and regardless of what the issue is, we got to work. We got to work on a solution. Also, we got to work um, on talking with each other again because sometimes I wonder, before this thing is February 24th started, we had the Olympics, and then we had this big climate change thing where that was on the radar of the news. Everyone's talking about, oh, what's happening with this climate change thing in Scotland? We're going to do this. We're going to do this. But yet, when basically certain papers or information was presented regarding the security of Eastern Europe and how to resolve ongoing tensions. Well, we got to take care of this climate change thing first. We're going to put this on the back burner. Then finally, people do get frustrated, and then this February 24th thing happened, and now basically it's coming out to winter approaching. Even in the EU, they're telling people to use less air conditioning. They're telling people they're shutting off hot water at public places in Europe. They're planning on doing gas rationing, other things. Now, come on now. So February 24th, let's see. March 24th, April 24th, June 24th, July 24th. So 4 months. So basically, starting the fifth. And the signs are starting to show. Signs of wear and tear are starting to show. I'm glad that so far the first solution, Wiseheads, did come together and get this bread shipment going, and hopefully other bread shipments will be able to keep going because this is really needed as part of preventing a worldwide catastrophe by October. Because when winter comes, it's for people. Even though people in Europe are not in a war zone, they're gonna feel like they're living in a war because there's gonna be rationing, there's gonna be heat shortages, there's gonna be other things because basically, the system was tied. Like for example, this program shows system was tied to a very tight link system. So basically, when this link there's not another link to go to, and so what do? And then basically. There wasn't a transition system set in place. So what some countries are doing is they're trying to restart the nuclear energy, like Germany and France and others. Others are trying to restart the coal. Again, let's go back to this one program here that I have. Again, I apologize for the screen, but again, even when you consider basically a finely tuned system, it's the only reason why this type of plan is able to be done is because basically the program, the system exists in such a way that everything is available. That a certain amount of time you're going to get a certain shipment in, you're going to get a certain resources in, energy in, food in. And then you can do that type of planning. However, when we have a system that's been disrupted by COVID, disrupted by this February 24th thing, disrupted by a major areas of the world, Ukraine and Russia, and even the Nord Stream pipeline and others that provide food and energy to other parts of the world. You can't do this type of planning, or you can't do this type of central planning. This high efficiency planning is kaput. High efficiency planning is kaput, and that high efficiency planning is kaput, and that brings the point of basically what was mentioned in the film Mr. Jones, where he mentioned, well, have men gone to pigs, or pigs gone to man, in relation to Animal Farm, where basically over promises were made, and yet the people were suffering. And in the film it mentions why did George Orwell choose to tell it in a story based upon animals in a farm, because it's mentioned in the movie that he said if he did try to tell it on a human basis, it would have been so hard for people to comprehend or even read, because basically they would have been blown away after the first chapter. So he had to put in such a way that people could read the story, even though it's not a popular story to read. It's not like a romance novel. It's not something. It may not be something popular to read, but something that needs to be done. In conclusion, I would like to talk about the Power of Three. Many TV series mentioned this. Charm mentioned the Power of Three, but I like to talk about the Power of Three in regard to medicine. Also, let's see, and Power 3 in regard to practice of medicine as well, the Oxford Handbook of Clinical Medicine. I have the 8th edition, as that's what I could afford on my budget, also being pre-med. But the Power 3 is this: 3 seconds without air, you die. 3 minutes without 3 days 3 days without water, no, 3 minutes without air, you die. 3 days without water, you die. 30 days without food, you die. And in the movie Mr. Jones, he saw exactly what happens after 30 days, especially in a cold Ukraine winter, where basically people were fighting over a loaf of bread. That also can exist in the desert too, because where people fight, when people don't have bread and water and even clean air, the same thing can happen as what happened in 1933. So, but in 1933, when he wrote the article, the person who wrote the article was was disqualified because basically someone else wanted didn't want that information out, and there's certain reasons that occurred, which is mentioned in the movie. But really, if we're not careful, we're going to approach that type of thing like we had in 1933, and I'm hoping we don't, and because I'm hoping that these bread shipments, fertilizer, and sunflower oil, I know I mentioned this many times, I hope they are successful, and I am praying that they are successful because many people depend upon it. Even those in Europe who think that basically they're way above the fray, they're way above the people in Africa, they're way above the fray. No, we're not. Like my grandfather believed, which is a thing what my family believes. We all drink from the same trough. We all drink from the same trough. We all drink from the same trough. So think about that. And now I'm interested in your thoughts. The best way to reach me is on Twitter at Diana1A or Ideas with Diana. And to those in the forum press, keep courage and keep strong. Don't let them put blinders on you. Don't let them muzzle what you hear, and don't let them block what you can see. Keep strong. Keep strong. I wish to thank you for watching Ideas with Diana, and I'll have a next episode shortly at another time.